した。まあ、今回は、グローバルゲームジャムの2021年の、プレゼンテーションを始まりたいと思います。So we're going to call everybody in order of the Discord names. So first is going to be the Volga Boatmen, next Ham Hams, Bookworm H, etc. So what I want you to do is I want you to introduce yourself, introduce your team, and who did what on your team. Explain the concept of your game, and then give us a quick demo. And if you haven't already, pop the link that you have for Global Game Jam into the chat. And also after the demo, we're going to have just a quick section of like Q&A where we just ask some questions about process if anyone has any questions. So please make sure to ask people if they have any questions. 日本語とすると、まず自己紹介して、それともチームメンバーの、名前と役割を紹介してください。で、あとは、ゲームの、まとめを説明して、で、デモを、始まっても大丈夫です。あとは、ちょっとなんか短いの Q&A をやりたいと思います。どういうことを、学びましたとか、どういうチャレンジがありましたとか、そういうことを聞いても大丈夫です。日本語でも英語でも大丈夫です。私かアグネスを通訳できますので、安心してください。All right, so let's start with the Volga Boatmen.
Yay!
Everyone give them a hand.
I'm so excited.
Oh, can you guys hear me? Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Nice. So we are the Volga Boatmen. Our game is called Where Is It? Let me share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can.
So, Where Is It is a game where you are late in the morning, but Makia, your lovely dog, doesn't want you to leave and will hide your things as soon as you put them in your bag. Try to be quicker and smarter so you can finally leave. And it's a very quick game because, well, it's quick, but it's also quite difficult because Makia is a very smart dog and she's able to hide your items in places where you can't really see them. So if they will be under your bed, under the couch, and she knows how to take advantage of the collision system in Unity also. So let's maybe go in for a quick demo. I will be the one playing, and Antonio, my partner in crime, will be the one describing the game.
Yes, I'm Antonio, and I will be describing as Julian plays. So as you can see, like pretty basic interface. Play, we start. I think Julian's going to unmute. Okay, I think we're having issues with the sharing of the sound, but basically like Julian is going around. I think you needed to share the sound when you join Zoom.
Yeah,
but, I mean,
actually, if you want to, you can stop sharing and then reshare, and there's a checkbox that says share audio.
Okay, well, in the meantime, I'll still be talking about the game. So as you can see, like you'll go around your house. There's a little counter on the top that will keep track of how many items you've put in the bags. And there's also another interface that we'll be able to see momentarily, I hope so, at the top, where it will show you which item you're currently holding in your hand. You can only hold one item at a time. Can anybody see the screen, or is it just me that I cannot see it?
I cannot see the screen either.
Okay.
It also might be because it's full screen, if you have it on full screen. For some reason, Zoom can be weird about that.
Yeah, I know that we should have, okay. Okay, as you can see here, there's the music. It's on the louder side, but we got some nice beats. So as you can see, you'll go around, you'll walk around the house. There's an audio cue for the items. It's being deposited in the bag. As it's going on and collecting all the other items. within an interval between 5 and 9 seconds when the item has been deposited, Makia will actually take an item out, and as you can hear from the barking cue, your counter decreases and you see that you have to actually go back and get your item back. Okay. Julian, I think you can probably mute the music now.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty loud.
Yeah, it's on the louder side. So as you can see, like he's still playing, like finding the object as Makia goes and pulls them out. And so there's actually a tool of 15 different kind of object that can be pulled. So we have newspaper, we have money, hats, shoes, and stuff, but only 6 of them are chosen at random. Also, each of these have multiple sprites that are also selected randomly as you play. And now, as you can see, at time, like it can be pretty tricky to find, as Julian is struggling to find the last 2 items.
And is light definition.
Okay, so you got the keys right there on the bathroom sink. Check if there are any under the table in the bathroom as well. Yep, you got another one there. You have collected tech, which in this case, it's your phone. And the last shoes. Oh no, something else has been coming out. Okay, do we have it? Yep. Congratulations, he was able to complete the job. Great job, you found them all. Press escape to return to the main menu. Created by Julian Antonio, also known as the Volga Boatman team. And this is, where is it? So, thank you very much.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for the Volga Boatman? もし質問がありますか?
I thought it was interesting how you hid items and the idea of taking items back from a player that they've already collected. Did you find it difficult to convey that to the player during the development process? What were you thinking about? How do you inform the player about the items that are being taken? I'm just kind of curious about that.
Okay, so I'll try to answer that one. So as we were going through the thought process about all the core mechanics, and our first idea was to go and just simply have the audio cue of the dog barking, and then have it actually explained in the how-to play. But then we realized that if we really wanted to be inclusive and also make the game accessible to people with hearing impairment, we also added the little pop-up of the dog appearing as a UI element for about 1 second, 1.5 seconds, while right after the event that steals an item has been triggered. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I thought just as some feedback, I thought it was really helpful to see that the dog popped up. It made it very clear when the item was being taken.
Thank you.
What engine were y'all using in this?
Unity.
Awesome. Any other questions? 他の質問ありますか? All right, great. One more round of applause for the Volga Boatmen. Great job. All right, next up is Team Ham Hams.
I'll go ahead and turn on my camera and show everyone my quarantine beard, if it works. Oh, my background is Super Metroid. So Tony is actually going to present or just share his screen while I explain. Let me first just introduce the team. We were a team of 5. Aki-san and Jaren were basically focusing on art design. Aki-san handled creature design mostly, and Jaren did environmental art. And the title screens and ending screens. Tony and I and Taiga-san were essentially doing a combination of design and programming and putting together all the bits and pieces that make a Unity game work, whatever was necessary. Most of the UI was done by Taiga-san, and most of the, I would say, like nitty-gritty mechanics programming was done by Tony, and all I did was take everybody's hard work and kind of mush it together and turn it into an executable file. Okay, let me switch over so I can see what he's doing.
Yeah, just to make sure, can everyone see?
Yes.
Okay.
So this game is called Mama Iruka, which is a pun in Japanese. It means like, Mom, are you there? And it's a game about a young dolphin that is lost in the sea, and you have to find your way back to your mother. The way you do this is by squeaking out calls for your mother. And as you can see, whenever you call out, if you're nearby to some sea life, they'll respond with some feedback telling you which direction to go in. And so as you explore, you will run into various sea creatures. And when you approach them, they'll give you a hint about which direction you should go if you want to find your mother. The whole game is essentially an explorative, sort of like hide and go seek type of game almost, where you're using your voice to call out and look for potential paths to travel down to find your mother. And there are also some power-ups hidden throughout the level that will help you recover or replenish the ability to use your cry so that you can look further for her. The level's kind of big. It's about 5,000 tiles worth of space in these little coral tiles. There's 8 different sea creatures that are all fully animated, and all the positions are chosen randomly, but we did some things like making sure the mother didn't spawn too close to the beginning spot to make sure that there was at least some of a challenge, and you had to actually do some searching to find the solution. But more than anything, it's just a game about kind of like exploring the sea and finding your way back. Hopefully he'll run into her soon so we can show you the final screen.
I think we made it more difficult than I anticipated.
The level's actually quite big, and there's quite a few different places that the mother can spawn. So give him another minute. Hopefully you can find her. Is it very jittery for everyone? Sorry, it seems like it's a little bit laggy on my end, but it might be my connection.
It's a little bit laggy, but not so much that it
It's
affects the
probably
game.
my internet or computer. My bad. Okay. Probably should have made the maps.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen her at the bottom. I think she's probably at the top.
Yeah, I'll just go grab the power up then, just to show it off.
This is actually probably the longest playthrough I've seen yet in all of our testing.
Isn't that always the way, though?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. We spent a considerable amount of time on designing the seaweed and the way the seaweed moves dynamically. You know, Jaren drew many different tiles. Oh. So when you find Mama, you know, you just get a happy message and a thank you from the team.
Aww,
awesome.
lovely.
Well done, Team Ham Hams.
We were aiming to make a game that didn't have any sort of violence or real conflict. Even the shark that's there won't really do anything to you. We just wanted to make kind of a not too difficult, friendly, but explorative game.
Great. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Team Ham Ham? 質問がありますか? I have a general question for the team. What were some things that you learned in making this game?
That is a good question. I don't want to speak for the whole team. If somebody else wants to answer for themselves, please. Oh, Jaren actually says in the chat, pay attention to tileable tiles. Yeah, we've made 2D games together before, but every game has a unique approach when you're doing design, and there's a lot of different ways to skin a level. And this time we decided to go with like a heavily tile-based approach so that we could get a more fine level of control over the level, the shape of the actual stage. But since that resulted in us painting about 5,000 tiles worth of stage, it took me and Jaren probably combined about 4 or 5 hours to really, after I designed the stage, to actually paint out the details throughout the whole stage we had designed, which we did all last night. So there was that issue. I think the other ones were, we all learned a little bit about creating assets, like tileable tiles in the same way, creating assets that can be used for a game. It's not, you have to understand what the needs of your team are. You really need to, like, if they say I need an image of X or Y, you have to understand like what are the real requirements. And so I think it pays to be explicit upfront about the kind of details you need, what size image you need, or how to crop it effectively, or what colors to use, things like that. It's always about communication, I think, in the end.
I actually also want to ask, because there's a few first timers on your team, what their experience was. 初めての方がいると思いますが、ちょっとこの質問は初めての方にしたいと思います。何か学びとか、これ勉強になりましたのことがありますか？
同じチームの、タイガと申します。今まで個人での制作っていうのは何回かやったことがあったんですけど、こうやって多くの人と集まって、一つのゲームを作るっていうのは実は初めての経験だったので、そのゲーム作るっていう経験をさせていただいたのはとてもいい経験だったと思いました。一緒に作ってくださった方や、上の方はじめありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。There's a quick summary translation was this was his first time making a video game. So to people who were sort of in the know, who were helping him with the video game process, he learned a lot and he really expresses his thanks.
こちらもいいですか？
秋さんも。
こっちもいいですか？
いいですよ。
なんでしょう。確かに今言った通りに、個人で制作っていうのは授業内で何度かあったんですけど、やっぱりこうやって複数で制作するっていうのはやはり初めてでしたね。なんというか、やはり自分もまだまだ未熟だって痛感しましたね。まだ。結局私やったの、キャラクターのイラストと音探しぐらいでしたし、今後はもうちょっと他にもいろいろできるようにしていかないといけませんねって思いました。また次の機会に参加できるのであれば、もっと他にいろいろできることを増やしてやっていきたいなって思います。ありがとうございます。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。ぜひ次回に参加してみてください。
Aki-san said that, like Taiga-san, essentially, he's had experience designing games in class, like classroom settings, maybe by himself as an individual project, but it was a completely different experience to come into this with people he didn't know and working in a large team to create something together. And it helped him realize that, when you're focused and you're building something on your own, you kind of can work your way through, or you can get by on the skills that you have. But when you come into a bigger team in an event like this, you have to kind of broaden your horizons and embrace skills you didn't know and try to do things to take yourself outside your bubble so you have a wider skill set so you're effective. And so he said he'd like to try to do more and more in the future and expand on the things he can do and try out different roles within the team.
Awesome. Thank you so much. みんなありがとうございます。One more time. Great job, y'all.
Thank you.
Alright. 次には、ブクワム H のチームです。
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you. Can you put yourself on mute, Vicky?
Sorry, I didn't want it to say anything.
Can you put yourself on mute?
OK。
あ、すいません。どうぞどうぞ。
は
はいはい。失礼します。
じゃあ、チーム名からですね。ブック&H メンバーが、ひざさん、わさびさん、りくさん、くまさん、マットさん。で、作ったゲームが、俺は泥酔なんてしていないです。教育切れてるのか。
So the game title is I'm Not Drunk.
で、どこだタイトルで、導入画面、お酒持った人とぶつかって酒飲みが倒れてしまう。で、メイン画面に入って、左下がミニマップになってます。正面にあるのがゴールの銀行で、ゲームの目的は、酔っ払ってる途中に落としてしまったものを集めて、すべて集めた状態で会社に出社することです。キャラクターは酔ってる設定なので、フラフラして操作がしにくくなってます。今一つ拾ったのが落とし物の一つです。今これ、W しか押してないけど、左の方に勝手に右や左にフラフラしています。そして左下の、赤いのが落とし物だったんだけど、全部拾ったら、緑丸のゴールに向かいます。すべて拾った状態でゴールの均衡にたどり着くことができればリザルトがかっこよくなります。逆に、何もアイテム拾わずにゴールしてしまうとバカにされます。はい、終わりです。ありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございました。
あ、チームを紹介してもいいですか？みんなの役割とか。
はい、自分と、膝と、くまさんと、わさびさんが、プログラムで、りくさんと、マットさんが、デザイナーをやってくれました。
はい、ありがとうございます。皆さん、質問がありますか？ Does anyone have any questions for Bookworm H? 翻訳ありがとうございます。
すみません。2日間で 3D ゲームを作るのがなんか大変そうだなと思ってるんですけど、なんかそのモデルを作るのとかリギングとか自分で作ったかアセットストアを使ったかどっちですか？ちょっと気になりますけど。
人はマットさんが作ってくれました。
なんかすごく 2日間なのに、すごくいい感じで、人の形も、アニメーションもできたから、とてもいいと思います。
ありがとうございます。
ちなみに、自分でキャラクターを作りましたけど、キャラクターのアニメーションは、Unity ストアで、なんていう、RPG アセットパッケージを、使いました。
ああ。
アニメーションはセットです。
英語で通訳。So I made the characters during the game jam, but the animations were used from a Unity package called RPG Animation or something. Yeah.
ありがとうございます。Thank you. 他の質問ありますか？ Does anyone have any other questions?
これは Unity ですかね？
Unity で。
そう、結構、なんか、成功よりは失敗の画面の方が好きです。だからなんか、このゲームは本当に失敗したいなと思っていました。All right, I think that's it. Everybody, a round of applause for Bookworm H. 素晴らしいです。ありがとうございます。All right, next is Nomad Stories.
I think Philippe is going to be presenting for us, but maybe we are experiencing some technical difficulties. His mic is not working. Oops. Yes, in the meantime, while we're waiting for him to come back, so our team is called Nomad Stories. It was me, Vicky, Lucian, and Philippe. Philippe and I worked on the programming. Vicky did the art for us, and Lucian wrote our script as we made sort of a visual novels. As I wait for Philippe to rejoin so he can show you the demo.
Can you give us kind of a general example of actually just a quick sort of synopsis of the game in both English and Japanese?
Sure. So the game is a visual novel. We wanted to take the idea of losing something not physical, so losing memories. So you're sort of exploring different memories of the character's life. なんかビジュアルノーベルっていうデザインのゲームを作ったんですけれども、物をなくすではなく、記憶を失うことをテーマにして、その主人公の、いくつかの記憶を、振り返ってみるゲームになりました。でも、もう、
Hello.
後ほど、okay, here we go.
Yeah, sorry, the mic just did not work, and I was talking and no one responding, so I was like, clearly something's wrong. Yes, we are 4 in our team, and So we decided to go for a visual novel using Unity, and well, I've never actually done visual. I've done a lot of narrative sort of stories, but like never like a straight up visual novel with branching path. And let me share the screen here. Okay. Is it working? Can everyone see?
Yes, I can see.
Okay. So Vicky made the art of the characters. The game itself is not finished. Lucian did the writing with everyone with everyone else supporting in the writing too. We talked a lot about the story and also like modified some things as we were integrating the different parts. Right now, 2 of the like 5 parts I think are integrated. So it clearly took longer than we anticipated. But yeah, let's show you what the. Also, some of the art assets are still placeholders, so that's a thing to look forward to.
I think you'll be able to tell which ones they are.
Try not to go too fast. I know I'm used to just clicking and going through the text because I've read it already, but for everyone else, that would not be fun. So right now we can just check around our room. These here are supposed to be books, but as you can see, they are mushrooms. Here is supposed to be a picture, but as you can see, it is a mushroom. And here it's supposed to be a calendar. As you can see, it's also a mushroom. Is the audio there too?
No, you might have to stop sharing, and then there's a checkbox when you share that also says share audio.
Let's try that. Does that work now?
Yep, good.
All right. So very common like talking noises, not much music yet. So trying not to go too fast, just reminding myself. So our idea for the game was that this man was thinking about his past. One of the main concepts that we wanted to avoid, though, was to make it explicit. So we can't show the entire concept because we haven't finished it, but the idea was that you'd go through this loop where you'd start from the end and then go back to the beginning and go through his memories. And as you go through this loop multiple times, you can figure out what different answers you should be actually giving. And that'll end up modifying his memories at the same time. So let's just pick one. And yeah, that's what we have so far. But there is more written for it. So at some point, it'd be nice to try to, at the very least, implement the remaining scenes using the assets we have, so that at the very least, we can go through the loop. Obviously, that would require more time than we have left. Yeah, so does anyone have, yeah, we can talk about, I was on programming, Diallo was also, well, programming and integrating. One thing I found was that the Fungus plugin in Unity allows us to like not program too much if we don't. It's more like a plug and play and like loop around the events. So that was kind of cool to see. And I think I said Victoria was on the art and Lucian was on the writing. Anything you want to add, Diallo or Victoria or Lucian?
Nothing in particular for me, but I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has them, or if Victoria or Lucian have anything to add.
I'm curious about how you set up the narrative structure a bit, because it seems like it would get very complicated quickly because you have a lot of things looping back on itself and self-modifying with the way the memories change. Can you talk at all about how you did that?
So the way we did this in Fungus was, well, initially we had a few ideas for how the narrative would play out, and we did like this idea. We had like two ideas at some point where one was time travel and one was like the memories, and like time travel is also in itself a rabbit hole to how things work in the end. But essentially how it's supposed to work is that the global variables that let the player know if the main character knows something, then he'll unlock choices that he didn't have if the player hasn't even looked at that information. So for example, at the beginning, there was a potion book that you looked at. If by chance you didn't read the potion book, then the player himself would not have the options that require prior knowledge for the character to have. And all the character's choices that aren't like player knowledge, all the character choices, like those reset at the beginning when he's in his younger memory. So some variables stay true, like the player knowing having read the book, having used certain objects, and some of them reset at the beginning. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it sounds, I mean, it definitely sounds like you have a lot of like threads that you have to twist together and think about all the contingencies when the player takes this scenario and then this scenario versus,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah, we have a essentially what the writer Lucian did was that every time an option was locked away, he would write, in addition to the text, what was required for the player to have, and also what would be like unlocked depending on choices. So it was a bit like compiling what information we got from the text and seeing like, okay, so this is it did, I will say it did require to go through the last part like once again. So probably as you go through the part, as we implement the parts, it'll probably be necessary to go back to previous parts to like activate some things regarding the scenario. Like the book that I talked about, the potion book. Initially, it was just you could read the book, but then as I read through the script, I realized it was one of the necessary things to read. So I had to go back and change the value if the player read the book. So you're definitely right. It's definitely like twisted a bit. So as you progress in the implementation, you realize that you have to go back and implement some things. But what's useful is that it's not too hard to do. It's usually just most of player choices and player knowledge is mostly Booleans. So true or false actions.
Right.
Phyllis, maybe you can share the screen of the Excel file where there's script
sure,
outlines,
yeah.
so it will be easier to understand.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Let me open up that. Is it? Yeah, shared. So here we have the script for the first and second scene. So if we take, for example, here, character might get a crow, and if he does have a crow, then the item will appear in his room at the end. And I think it was here where there were some if. Where was it? So if he checked the potion book, he could get a cauldron, for example. So as Lucian was writing, he would leave this information so that we could implement it. And like I said, obviously going through the later parts does require going back to prior parts because we didn't necessarily like keep a list of all the information. One thing that would have been possible is just say if the player has done something or not, but at the same time, yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah, and I believe there's some tool to do the narrative design for this kind of visual novel game, but we don't have time to do the tool research, so we use this Excel file. But I believe that there's some tool that can make things and more organized and can manage on the branch of this kind of game.
Is that okay for any more questions or any more details.
他の質問ありますか? Any other questions? Cool. All right. Next is going to be Clumsy Traders. 次は Clumsy Traders. Oh, sorry about that. Give it up for the Nomad Stories. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Also, I think you should just keep the mushrooms in. キノコはもう大丈夫だから。All right, next is Clumsy Traders. Thanks, y'all.
Cool. So we're Clumsy Traders. We had a team of 3. My name's Matt. I was doing the programming and Unity dev.
I'm Kirsten. I did art for like environment assets and background and stuff.
And my name is Puput. I did the graphic for items, character, and user interface.
Cool. So our game is an online multiplayer game. It's I'll just share the screen. Can everyone see that okay? Cool. So yeah, it supports up to 6 players. And basically you're a little merchant trader and you're very clumsy. So as you're walking around in the world, you lose items and you find other players' items. So you have to wander between the different locations and you can trade items. So for example, I could try and get these items. And basically the aim is to collect items that different towns want. And when you trade in the items, you'll gain score up here. And as you're going between the towns, you can see that you find items, and then sometimes you also lose items. Yeah. You should be able to see the other characters in the game, but I think possibly the other 2 players were in the game before I joined, and there might be a bug with that at the moment. But you can see that some of the other items have been already sold to this trader. There's usually 3 in there, so basically you're kind of competing against each other to try and find the correct items and sell them to each of the towns as before the other players do. Yeah, so each of the towns kind of has their own preferences and list of things that they sell. So as you play the game, you kind of get to know which location prefers what items, and so you might find, okay, I've found all these different ores, so I know where to take those. If I go over here, this blacksmith needs those, so then I can sell them. And yeah, that's basically it. The first player to get to 1,000 points wins. We probably won't get to that.
I keep losing what I need, so.
Yeah, I guess part of the challenge is not taking too many items, because the more items you have, the more likely you are to lose some of them. And then to kind of remember what each of them want as you're traveling around. Yeah. So that's basically the game. We made it in Unity, and we used Photon for the multiplayer, which generally works okay, but as you can see, there were some issues with the players disappearing that we ran into at the last minute. Yeah, it was my first time using Photon. It seems like a reasonable solution. I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about their experiences on our team. Cool. Okay.
Any questions?
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering if Kirsten or Pupu wanted to say anything about their tools and things that they used for doing the artwork. But I thought that as a team, we managed to kind of divide out the work quite nicely, and things got done pretty quickly. So yeah, it was a good experience. Cool. Any questions?
誰か質問ありますか?
I'd actually like to know a little bit more about Photon. Is that what you said you used?
Yeah, it's basically just a plugin for Unity, which is similar to Unity's older multiplayer solution, but since Unity is currently redoing all of their multiplayer, I decided to try using Photon. And I guess one of the things I was surprised about was that it supports WebGL as well as Android and Windows. So in theory, we have multiplayer support on all the platforms, and they've got some good examples. So yeah.
Oh, question. Can I hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yeah.
The icon very cute. Like, did you make all the icon kawaii 같던ですよ.
Yep. All the art was by our very talented two artists. I didn't do any of the art, but yeah, pretty much everything was all created in the last 48 hours.
Wow, looks good.
That's really impressive.
Mm. Yep. They did a great job.
Any other questions for Team Clumsy Traders? 他の質問ありますか?
I have one. I'm not sure, maybe I missed the explanation at the beginning, but do the other players, they can trade between each other as well, not only with the cities?
Not directly, but so I'll just share again. So basically, these items that you find in the different locations, when you trade your own items for the items in the towns, so there you can see some of the other players in the game are trading things at the same time. So basically, you have shared inventories in each of the towns where all the players kind of compete to trade and gain the best items before the other players do.
なるほど。ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
No worries.
All right. Any other questions? Awesome. Give it up for Team Clumsy Traders. I was also clumsy with that word. All right. Next up is Team Lights Out. 次は Lights Out のチームです。
Good evening, everyone. I'm Barish from Lights Out. Let me share my screen. Okay, can everyone see it?
Yes.
All right. So I'm Barish, and I made the programming, and Kilzer made our job. So Lights Out is a game about a little girl wakes up at the evening and found some belongings of her is disappeared, and there is a ghost called Kasa Obake in Japanese folk tales. So that ghost is hiding those items to different locations in her house. So our duty is to find them one by one in our room. So sorry, because my macOS build was full screen, so I'm gonna share it on Unity game engine. All right, so here's our character, and let's look for an item. Here's Obake is coming, and we can freeze it with our flashlights. Oh, I died too early. Let's try again. All right, I see my bear. Get up. All right, let's wait for Obake. Oh, it's coming. Cat. Oh, it's dangerous. Stop, please stop. All right. A rice ball. Yeah, there are many unnecessary items for a little kid. Oh. All right, 4 more items. Come on. Oh, it's too close to Obake. All right, 10 more. Oh my God. Ah, yes. All right. So that was the game. It was quite short. So this in 2 days, I think it was pretty challenging for us. So it was my first global game jam. So yeah. So that's it. If there's any questions about our game, I can answer.
はい。誰か質問ありますでしょうか？
I actually have one, which is, I think both of you, this is your first time to do the Global Game Jam?
Yes, it's, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so what did you learn from this experience?
So I think the scope is very important. Like, so what we expected to make, and the result was very different at the end, like because the time is very limited. We had lots of plans to do, like actually there will be some time traveling in the game, like some items might come from the different timeline, and we might see the older residents of the house as well, and walking through the other rooms in the house, but we couldn't achieve that much, and just stayed in the one room. So, and yeah, and maybe I think needs better planning and with better scope to achieve the complete the game, I guess, in the game jams, because we also couldn't complete start start screen for main. We didn't have main menu, so I think planning and thinking about scope is one of the most important things about game jam.
Yeah, I learned a lot about pixel art and got to try that, but it was hard to, I think, maybe I just didn't have the energy this weekend to learn too many tools at once. So I mostly focused on learning Asprite and learning about sprite generation. And I'm glad I used a lot of assets that I found that were open source. And, I drew the Obake, but the little girl, I borrowed her and just edited and added the flashlight. So that was kind of fun to try those. But I think keeping a really narrow scope and maybe partnering. While Boris was an awesome partner, I think I might partner with try to have a larger group, I guess. Yeah.
I agree. I think like 2 programmers and 2 artists will be great for a group. So for only 2 people, it's really difficult to handle everything. I think it's very tiring, and I think if it's your first game jam, maybe better to be in larger groups. Can be important.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any other questions for Lights Out? 他には質問がありますか? All right. Give it up for Team Lights Out. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what Pupu-san said and say for 2 people, that's really impressive what you just did. Seriously. Awesome. All right. And last but not least is Tin Factory.
Test 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. It might be that my audio during this presentation was dropping out all the time. So if you suddenly don't hear me anymore, ping me in Discord, because if you don't hear me, I probably won't hear you. Let's try the screen sharing. I hope that works.
Make sure to also click the share audio button as well if you have audio.
No, the game doesn't have audio.
Okay, cool.
Can you see the window that I shared?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. That works. Surprising. Good. So the game we made, which is basically me and Nilkun. Supposed to be a little automation game. Sadly, there's like one game-breaking bug in the last minute. So at the moment in the current version, you can't actually successfully play it. but I'll explain how it was supposed to be played. So we have like a little map here, and you can already see different type of resources on the map. Currently, you can just click them, and that will collect them. If I pop that open, you see how many items you have currently collected up here. And then there is a milestone system that says, collect these items listed down here to unlock the next milestone. And every milestone will give you a little hint what to do, and then unlock multiple new buildings. So in the beginning, you wouldn't have any buildings. You collect a few resources manually. You would get your first buildings. Then the buildings could collect resources for you. For demonstration purpose, I just unlocked all the buildings. So we have currently like different mining buildings. More are or were planned, but didn't got to make all the assets and stuff. So, but this I think is enough to demonstrate the purpose. So basically, we can harvest wood, stone, iron, and copper at this stage. There are actually 2 more miners implemented, but I did not unlock them yet. Then there is production buildings. Production buildings, as you can see here, they take an input and they give you an output. For example, the sawmill takes your wood and turns it into planks. The stone cutter takes your stone and turns it into cut stone. The iron smelter takes your iron ore, turns it into iron, and then it gets more complicated at some point. This one needs 2 ingredients to turn it into 1. This one also needs 2 ingredients to turn it into 1. Currently, I do not have the resources to build any of them. Let me see, 5 stone, 5 iron, and we can build a lumber mill. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Click a bit more to be safe. Click a little bit more here to be safe. Now you can see I have some stone and iron in my inventory, which means I can now build this lumber camp. Here you can see at previous year where to build it. You can only build it on the forest, so it needs the resources that it harvests to be built on. And then the little green square shows you where it will output resources. So I can build this now, and then click it, and you will see now it can collect resources here. This does not refresh automatically, but when I reselect the building again, you can see it again. I can also just click this here, and this will now have transferred it from the buildings inventory into my inventory, and I have the wood up here. And then the idea was that you build this harvesting buildings that harvest the items, and you transfer them to your production buildings that process your items until you unlock the final milestone. To do that, we have also logistics building like the conveyor belt, and this one actually works. Now you can see here how the wood is getting moved, and I can rotate that and move it up, and then my conveyor belt moves the resources up and so on. And the problem is, as soon as I try to transfer them in another building for processing, that is when the bug will happen and the game will crash. But yeah, that is basically the idea behind the game. Yeah, I guess, is my audio still there? And if so, are there any questions?
Thank you. 誰か質問ありますでしょうか?
Looks like no questions. All right, cool. Give it up for Tin Factory. Well done. Okay, so before we leave the demos, I have a confession to make, which is that I also built a game. So if you will indulge me, I'm going to show it now. I did this on my own because I was worried about other people relying too much on me being an organizer, and I had no idea if I was going to make it, but I did, and I'm happy about that. So let me share my screen real quick. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I did the programming, the art, everything on this. This is my first time using RenPy. So I really did this just so that I could learn, but I made sort of a short story about homecoming after a really long time away to your parents' house for Christmas. And I'm going to talk as we... So you are currently at your parents' place, meeting your parents. So the story is that they couldn't bear to throw away your old stuff. So similar to the way parents will just sort of give you stuff and say, you know, sort through it. They give you this box and there's 3 choices. Does anybody want to choose one? You can just like say out loud.
Please.
Which one?
The trigger. Trigger.
The dragon?
Yes.
Okay. The dragon's name is Stinky. So I did these illustrations in Procreate, and each character has 1 animation. And then with each character, you remember something about your childhood. I'm going to move a little bit faster, but... All right, next, which one should we choose?
The horse.
Horse. You don't get a choice. It's rabbit. Mr. Bunnelsworth is the rabbit's name. And then you remember the tea parties that you used to have with Mr. Bunnelsworth. I imagine him speaking in a British accent. So this is the point of the game where you have to choose between, there's only room in your suitcase for one stuffed animal. So which one do you want to choose?
Stinky.
Stinky? Awesome. Yeah, Stinky seems to be a playtester favorite of the like couple people that I playtested with. And then afterwards, you get a hug from your dad. And that's it. Does anyone have any questions? I know, Pupu-san, we want all of them. That's also, I heard people say that too.
I have a question.
Yes.
How was it using Ren'Py for the visual novel?
It was really good. I had not picked up it before. And one of the things I really like about Ren'Py is that you can get started real fast. So they have a template already ready for you to go with each line of code commented as to like what it does. And so when I started with the story, it was pretty easy to just change the script a little bit and then move from there and then move into asset creation. However, if I did anything like more intense, like, you know, try to make clickable things or something like that, I think that would have probably pushed me over the edge. But as far as the template, getting up and starting in Ren'Py is really, really simple.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
CJ, can you please text the tool that you were using in the chat?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Thank
Ren'Py.
you.
Hold on one sec.
I just wanted to say that
go ahead.
I feel like committing to that, to creating that amount of tech, in addition to programming and having to create the art and everything, is a huge undertaking, and that was really gutsy. But I thought it was really charming. You know, I know you kind of sped through it as it went on, but I feel like there was a lot of thought put into the feelings the player would experience as they played through it. So
Thank you so much. Yeah. If anything, I feel like I tend to go a little crazy when it comes to game dev. So I had this moment where I think I started this game at 4 p.m. on Saturday, actually.
Wow.
So I was kind of feverishly working on it into the night and the morning time. But yes, thank you for complimenting my insanity.
To make some of the assets and backgrounds, did you just like get stock or photography and pixelize it?
Totally. Yes.
Yeah, that looked great. That was really
stole everything.
Yeah, I was figuring out maybe if it wasn't clear in mine, one thing that I did because I didn't want to draw everything was I got Tweemoji, which are like under a share-alike license. You just have to attribute, and then I just pixelated some. But the idea of doing a whole scene that way is really great, and the effect came out. It came out really, really nice. Like you really set a good mood with it. So that's cool.
Awesome. Oh, thank you very much. I feel like, do you remember when I told you told everyone the 3 sort of learnings that I got out of Game Jam? I think this game is an application of all of those, which is keeping the scope really, really small stealing as many assets as possible. And then, I mean, when the game started breaking, I was looking at tutorials and help online from time to time. Like if Matt helped me debug like one thing, because it just somewhere on like Saturday evening, it shit the bed colloquially, which is like just, it was totally throwing a lot of errors and I had no idea how to fix it. So all three of those things I used when making this game. Cool. 他には質問ありますか？あとは、連敗は、ドキュメンテーションは日本語もありますので、すごくいいツールです。All right. Cool. Thank you, everybody. I super appreciate you watching. All right. So that's it for the demos. Between now and so at 7 p.m., we're going to have a online nomikai on Spatial, which we'll give you the link to in Discord. If you want to participate, feel free to participate. If you want to go to sleep and crash, that is also totally okay. これから、夜の7時から、リモート飲み会をしたいと思います。スペシャルのリンクで、ディスコードでお送りします。で、参加しなくても大丈夫し、参加しても、私は嬉しいですが、もし寝たいとか、食べたいとか、全然、なんか、ディスコードから抜けても大丈夫です。But before you go, would you mind popping in general your socials? So like if you have a Twitter or a Twitch or a Discord handle for people to follow you. And then if you haven't already put the link to your game for Global Game Jam so that we can share it, then that would be super awesome. みんなはジェネラルチャットで、終わる前にはちょっとお願いがあります。SNS、例えば Twitter とか Twitch とかDiscord のことをみんな教えて、みんなちょっとフォローする、仲良くしましたから、フォローするような、SNS を、送ってください。あとは、もしまだしなかったら、ゲームリンクを General で追加してください。All right. Any other questions before we leave? Awesome.
So we will be waiting for you at Spatial. For teams, I prepared the Spatial separate room. You can find your teams over there if you want to finally hang out without working and just chit chat. The nomikai will be in the main room in the theater, and I hope to see you all on site next year at Code Chrysalis again.
Yes, and huge hats off to Code Chrysalis for sending Agnes and helping with all the gifts and everything. Like, y'all are amazing. So
again, happy for everyone.
Yes. And I'm so proud of you all. We did this all remotely, and this was 7 teams and 8 games. Holy crap. So y'all just completed something super amazing. You totally deserve rest. Go rest, go party, whatever you feel like doing. Have a super great Sunday evening. みんなはお疲れ様です。よく頑張りましたから、みんな本当に心からありがたいと言いたいです。リモートにもゲームを作るのはすごいものだと思いますので、ちょっとみんな感謝したいと思います。All right. ありがとうございます、みんな。We will see you on Spatial.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you.